Hi, my name is Cynthia. I am 13 years old and I live with my mother and father. Well, until recently, that's what I thought. My mother is pregnant and will soon give birth to my brother. No, it's not like that. Oh my, let me start over from the beginning. Just 6 months ago, we were an absolutely normal and happy family. Only my grandmother, Pamela, my father's mother, and my mother had a pretty cold relationship. You know, they both pretended that the other just didn't exist. But it was always this way, and I had gotten used to it. Whenever we were going to visit my grandmother, we would always do it together with my father, and my mother wouldn't join us. My grandmother can't be called the most sweet and nice person to communicate with, but I always knew that she was really very kind. The only thing about her that I saw was that she was sad because she lived alone. Right when I was about to be born, my grandfather and her divorced. He went to Europe, and we haven't heard from him since. Well, at least that was the story I heard when I was little and when I asked. And then when I grew up, I stopped asking. My parents wanted a second child badly, but for a long time, they were unsuccessful. When my mother finally got pregnant, we were all so happy. And then my father made us even more happy when he said that after the baby was born, we would move to the new house, a bigger and better one. Life was beautiful. But something went wrong. After a few months, I noticed that my parents became more and more nervous and upset. When I asked what was going on, they just brushed me off. So I decided to call Granny Pam and ask what was wrong. My grandmother said that I was already big enough to know and explained that my father took out a mortgage for the house, but then something had gone wrong with the business and now he was having trouble paying it off. She also added that the best thing I could do was to spare my father from questions since he was feeling bad enough already. So I couldn't get any answers from my father, no questions because I didn't want to make him feel worse, but I couldn't ask my mother either. I had no right to get her worried because it would harm the baby. All I could do was guess. Will everything be all right? Or will we soon be thrown out on the street and become beggars? So I thought that maybe I could learn to sing and dance in order to earn money to feed my little baby brother and myself. My mom and dad became more and more sad and irritated with each passing day, and they still didn't tell me anything. So I decided to eavesdrop on what they were talking about. I know it's not good, but didn't I have a right to know what was going on? You know, at the beginning, I did not understand what they were talking about. They sounded very nervous and argued about something connected to money and my grandfather. I listened, and finally I understood. It turned out that my grandfather had recently died. He had left a will, and according to this will, I was the one who inherited all the big money he left, but only under the condition that I would read some letter. Frankly speaking, I was so happy that I almost left my secret hideout screaming, "Of course, this legacy will solve all of our problems." But I didn't do it because I understood that my parents did not want me to read the letter, even though they kept repeating that we needed this money very, very badly. I quietly returned to my room, went to bed, and while I was still awake, I was thinking that my parents should not worry. I was a big girl now, and whatever my grandfather had written in that letter wouldn't scare me, and I will be able to help my family with all the money he left me. And on the next day, I said all of this out loud right away at breakfast. I thought they would be happy, but they looked shocked and seemed totally unwilling to even talk about it. Then I called Granny Pam and told her everything. But you know, my grandmother reacted very strangely. She started to laugh, but at the same time, she didn't sound as if she had found any of this actually funny at all. Finally, she said, "Of course, my dear. I will come over now and do my best to convince them." And she really did come to visit, I think for the first time in my life. But it did not make me happy at all. She looked threatening and triumphant for some reason. And she talked to my parents as if she was deriving some dark, unkind satisfaction from the whole situation. But she really did manage to persuade them. She said, Did you really think that you could keep this a secret forever?" And she started laughing again. But I noticed tears in her eyes. I still had no idea what was going on until my grandfather's lawyer came and gave me the letter that I had to read in his presence. From this letter, I learned that my grandfather was in fact my father. He was just over 50 when he met my mother. She was his student and was in her early 20s, and he had fallen in love with her. She felt the same, and they started dating. When he found out that she was pregnant with me, he wanted to divorce his wife, my grandmother Pam, in order to marry my mother. But while they were going through all the formalities, my pregnant mother met his son. He was 18 years old at the time, and they had fallen in love so deeply that she no longer wanted to stay with my grandfather. Well, with my real father. When she told him, he had a hard time with this. Finally, he asked his former wife to go to Europe with him, but she refused. As it is written in the letter, she could not forgive him, and in addition, did not want to leave her beloved son. And then my grandfather, well, my real father, decided to move to Europe alone. He thought that it would be better for everyone if he just disappeared. I was so shocked, and it seems I am still shocked. You know, I am trying to sort out who is who in my life. My grandfather is my father, my grandmother is my stepmother, my father is my brother, and soon my brother-nephew will be born. It turned out that only my mother is who I thought she was, my mother. But I can't help thinking about how it turned out that my dear mommy ruined the lives of two good people, my real father and his wife, Granny Pam. Even though I am not sure I can call her Granny or expect for her to really love me. And now, yes, we are finally moving into the new home. I gave my parents, whoever they are, permission to use the money in order to pay the outstanding mortgage. But frankly speaking, I don't know how all this is going to play out going forward. Maybe something will change after the baby is born. Please support me with your likes and tell me in the comments what you think I should do in this bizarre situation.